everyone, welcome back to CSC 151 Computer Applications. In this video, we're going to be going over the different types of data we could have. So, we already know what variables are and that we can store information inside them. So I'm going to make a couple of different variables here, and I'm going to make them different types. The first one I'm going to make is a string. Okay, what is a string? A string can be numbers, it can be letters, it can be spaces, it can be symbols. But most importantly, a string is text. So if I say, and I'll just make this an S here for string, S equals, blah, 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 space, space, blah, 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 a bunch of symbols. That could be a string. This can also be a string, just simply our hello world example. That's a string. And if I, print out S, I will print out a string. And there it is, my hello world. Now, I wanted to hit enter. There we go. Now, the next example is an integer. An integer is essentially a whole number. Okay? So, now it's more specific than that because there's actually a difference between an integer and a double and a long. Basically, as we get to bigger and bigger numbers, they wound up having different names because they came along later as computing power got bigger. But for the sake of our code, we're not going to be doing any ridiculously large numbers anyway, so I'll just name I and make that an integer. I don't know, 85. That's an integer. And if I simply print out I will print out an integer in 85. And same thing if I have myself a float. A float stands for a floating point number. Basically, that means it's a number with a decimal. So if I put F equals, I don't know, 76.324, and I print out F for float, run it, there it goes, it prints out the float. And the last one we're going to be going over in this class is we're going to be going over a Boolean. So I'll make another comment and make this a Boolean. And a Boolean is essentially true or false, yes or no, on or off. But really the way we would write it would be either true or false. It literally is only those two options. Those are the only two options it has. So I'll make a B and I'll make that true. And you'll notice the word true became purple. And if I try to print out the B for Boolean, I wind up printing out the true. And there we go. Now, some of these equations can math out very well together. For example, I can simply do, print out I plus F, because they're both numbers, 85 and 76.324, and I print that out, it'll give me 161.324. It will give me a float of the integer and the float combined. However, if I try to, say, add the string and the float together, it's not going to like that. String and float objects, like, how do you add hello world and 76.324 together? That's going to be difficult to do. It could be done, but you'll need to convert them first. And we're going to convert them in another video. Speaking of which, that's literally going to be the next video. So, if you understand these different 4 types of objects, meet me in the next video, and we will go and we will start learning how to mix and match these guys back and forth from one another. Because just because something starts out as a string doesn't mean it has to end up as one at the very end. We can switch things back and forth to how we want it.